So what's up, Heather?
What's up, B?
Well, we're just soaking in a little irony tonight. We're talking about a once promising bourbon brand that aimed for the stars but somehow managed a belly flop back to earth. Yep. Kentucky Owl has filed for bankruptcy.
That's right, B. So Kentucky Owl, which is owned by Stoli, declared bankruptcy a few days ago. And now Stoli has some decisions to make. They've got to decide if they want to restructure, they're going to sell it off, what their bankruptcy filing exactly is going to look like. But for right now, it looks like Kentucky Owl's Bardstown dreams have hit the rocks, and not the good kind.
Yeah, well, we're no experts in the whiskey business, but this story grabbed our attention mainly because she's a nerd.
I'm a nerd. Okay. Mm-hmm. And two, because we happen to have a bottle of this in our collection.
We do. Shout out to the Thunder from Down Under who got this for us, 6-7 months ago?
It's been a long time, yeah.
Yeah, very excited about it. So tonight we're cracking this bad boy open for you. We're giving it a taste, and we're diving into the news of the day. We're going to add a splash of our patented Tortured Bourbon sarcasm.
Signature sarcasm.
Yeah.
I agree. And if you're new here, welcome to the Tortured Bourbon family. Shout out especially to Steven Tyler.
Yep.
Not Steven Tyler of Aerosmith, but Steve and Tyler. Those are two separate people. Oh. If Steven Tyler wants to comment, though, we'd be happy to talk to him. So Steve and Tyler actually both reached out to us recently with some really great feedback and praise, and we really appreciate you guys. Anytime you can give us constructive criticism or feedback, we love it, and it just makes us better.
And if you're watching, well, you are watching. That's the point. You're watching. They're watching.
They are, I think.
Why do we put that line in there? And while you're watching, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. We love hearing from you. Tell us what bourbons you want us to review. Heck, share some of your favorite whiskey stories. Slide into our comments or socials. I don't know what that means, but do it on Instagram, Facebook, or that Twitter thing. She's always listening.
If you slide into our DMs, I promise I'll respond. So now we're going to turn back to Kentucky Owl.
Yep.
So this brand was originally founded back in 1879 by Charles Mortimer Deadman, which is a phenomenal name. He either had to found a whiskey brand or be an undertaker. There was really
Reminds me of something from Richie Rich. I mean, like a neighbor of Richie Rich.
Yeah, phenomenal. So old Mortimer does this in Bardstown, Kentucky, where all good whiskey things begin. And he produced what was known as the wise man's bourbon. So
hence like an owl.
Like an owl. Wise like an owl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like so many brands of the Prohibition era, things didn't work out too well. And when the government came knocking, it wasn't a friendly visit. They seized all of Kentucky Owl stock, stored it in a warehouse, and surprise, mystery machine, the warehouse burned down.
Sure, that was completely accidental.
And we would have got away from it if it wasn't for those mangy kids. Anyways, it's like a bourbon lover's worst nightmare.
You need to bring back your mystery machine shirt.
Shirt.
So the warehouse is burned down.
Yes.
And then I'm assuming all the stock is gone.
Well, this wasn't like Elijah Craig's fire where
miraculous.
Certain things burned and certain things didn't. No, this was alcohol. That bad boy went like a Roman candle.
I can't imagine the tears in your eyes if you had to sit and watch that much bourbon just go.
And it's Prohibition too.
I know, it's terrible.
We're gonna get more. Oh no.
So now we have to fast forward a whole century, and in 2014, Charles Mortimer Deadman's it wasn't exactly a century.
Well, I mean, if you screw up in the time machine, the flux capacitor, go ahead.
So fast forward almost a century to 2014, and old Mortimer's great-great-grandson, Dixon Deadman, another great name.
D squared. I call him D squared.
You're close personal
friends.
We hang
D squared.
Close personal friends. So he revived the brand. Now, they didn't have their own distillery, so they purchased some barrels of aged bourbon and rye and crafted it into their own unique blends. The prices for those bottles, they shot up faster than your heart rate after 130 proof.
Oh yeah, they like to charge a lot. They were very proud of their blends.
They were, and they got it for a long time.
Yeah, but they were selling mostly in the state of Kentucky, some in Ohio, the states around, and it was a niche within a niche within a niche because it was high dollar old bourbon blended, right? Mm-hmm. So in 2017, the Stoli Group wanted to get on the bourbon train. So they swooped in and they bought the brand for what we were told was a Princely Some.
I think
That's
that
right.
means it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they dreamed really big, and they envisioned a Kentucky Owl Park. Now, they actually hadn't made a distillate yet, but they were going to build the park.
They were going to build the Disneyland of bourbon.
They were going to build Hershey's Park without
Chocolate?
chocolate. That's right. $150 million visitor center sounded more like Disney World for bourbon lovers. And they had plans to build pyramids in Kentucky. Pyramids. That has a lot to do with owls. Owls, pyramids, bourbon, Egypt, Kentucky. They
totally makes sense.
They all, yeah.
I totally see.
Why go to Egypt?
So
You
connected.
can go to Bardstown.
So connected.
Because when I go to Kentucky, I think
Pyramids.
pyramids with owls on top.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all right.
makes total sense. Fast forward now to 2024. Shocker, spoiler alert, Kentucky Owl Park never materialized.
No pyramids.
No pyramids. They made some interesting business decisions along the way. And now here we are in December of 2024, and the only thing they've got is bankruptcy, and they're on the chopping block of whether or not they're even going to exist as a brand anymore. So sometimes dreaming big does not always translate into actually breaking ground on your pyramid.
That's true.
Sometimes it doesn't even mean you break even.
Heather, we're talking about a brand that was pitching pyramids in a vintage train. They were going to build a vintage train station to get around their park.
Pick a lane. You can't have a vintage train station and pyramids. Like you gotta kind of, are you going with the old school retro vintage bourbon vibe, or are you going with some kind of Egyptian fever dream? But you kind of gotta pick a lane.
Did the Egyptians drink bourbon?
I don't think so.
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
And now they filed for bankruptcy, and that's a heck of a plot twist.
It is. It's a tough pill to swallow. So we're gonna have to see what is next for Kentucky Owl. Stoli's got some decisions to make, like I said earlier. But tonight, we know what we're doing. We have a bottle of their Maighstir edition.
Maighstir.
You say it a lot better than I do.
It's Gaelic for master.
It is.
Sons of Scotland.
Gaelic
I am
for
William
bourbon.
Wallace.
Exactly like that. That's exactly... And I don't know why they just didn't film that as a commercial and use it. That would have saved the brand.
If it's not Scottish, it's crap.
Tagline, done.
This once was crafted under the guidance of Maureen Robinson, which is also the name of the character, the mom in Lost in Space. Kentucky Owl's first female master blender. She comes from a 30-year career at Diego, where she worked on legendary brands like Johnny Walker and Templeton. So let's get this really clear. The person that they brought in 2023 to be their master distiller, she is globally known in the whiskey industry. So for the mistakes they were making on one end, on the other end, they're bringing in one of the most knowledgeable people on the planet.
It all has to work together, though. But for now, we know that this one is thought of pretty highly.
Well, we're about to find out.
Here's what Kentucky Owl has to say about it.
What is it again? Maighstir.
That's exactly
Maighstir.
Exactly that. So the nose of this, I'll let you say it one more time,
Maighstir.
is supposed to be sweet aromas of small grains as opposed to large grains. Caramel and vanilla. It's supposed to be like a warm, boozy hug. I'm really looking forward to that. So we want to take a sniff. I mean, I don't know about you, but I can feel the warm hug. I like warm hugs, like Olaf. You don't get that reference.
Frozen.
Oh, shut up. The palate starts spicy with rye, and then it smooths out with wheat and barley, giving hints of orange and grapefruit. And that slides right into a finish that brings back the caramel and the vanilla with a pleasant lingering trail.
It's 100.8 proof, blends 4, 5, 8, and 9-year-old bourbons. Just... and supposedly they're distinct mash bills, but they don't tell us what they are, but it's fancy.
So, B, why don't you break down the price point for us?
All right, so we paid $150 for it, and that was retail. That was not markup.
Okay.
It was $150. Katie actually went looking for a bottle of Stag. They ran out of the Stag.
You got a lead, right? That there was somewhere had Stag.
She flew over there. They had a whole whopping 2 bottles, and they were both gone.
Mm-hmm. But now we have 2 bottles.
We do. And this was behind the counter. It was not up on the shelves yet. And Katie called and said, look, I Googled it. It's supposed to be really good. Do you want me to get it for you? And I thought, sure. And I love my wife, and she's a wonderful person. So she brought us back this $150 bottle of whiskey.
Haven't looked back.
No, we haven't looked back. Have you looked at the shelves?
That's true.
And then we decided to do a bourbon show.
Maybe this enabled the situation.
Yeah, so we're going to drink it.
Yeah. I think we got to taste it.
We're going to taste it.
And then we're going to rank it.
Yep. And then we're going to tell you what we think about it.
Yeah.
So let's start with that. Let's look at...
That smell again.
Now,
you want to look at the legs.
I always want to look at legs.
Yeah, you do.
We warmed up with a little green
River.
And I can tell you that this definitely is a darker amber. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't call it mahogany.
No.
But I would call it amber.
It's a light amber. Medium amber.
And it's definitely darker than Green River. Mm-hmm. I get the grain.
Mm-hmm. I get the grain mostly. Definitely get that spicy rye start. It's got the spice up front.
Spicy and rye.
Mm-hmm. At the very beginning.
Yeah. I can't believe I'm going to use this terminology. Mid-tongue.
I know what you mean.
Mid-tongue is where I start to get the barley note.
Mm-hmm. Maybe yeah.
And they said wheat, so maybe there's some wheated bourbon in here. I don't know.
For me, the rye is masking the wheat a little bit.
The rye's in the front.
But I am getting, and when they say the grapefruit and orange, don't think like the fruity part of the grapefruit and orange. It's more like the zest, like the rind. It's kind of that slightly bitter citrusy flavor at the end.
I can get that. Maybe.
It's okay if you don't. And then the end, I don't get as much vanilla and caramel with this one. I get a little vanilla in the finish. Once you let
it's not a caramel bomb by any means.
No.
But
I see. I get a little bit of that citrus. It's the bitter citrus rind flavor.
Now, are you getting that on the end, or are you getting that when you breathe out? Where are you getting that?
I'm getting that after you get past the rye. Like as it gets towards the back, right before you get to like the lingering finish. You can tell me I'm full of it.
I'm not saying you're full of it. I'm getting something. I'm getting something different.
What are you getting?
I get that wheat and barley.
You do?
Yeah, not quite tobacco-y.
I'm not getting that with this one.
Not
I get
quite
more of
tobacco.
a grainy.
Okay.
Yeah. I really have a lingering citrus taste. I don't get the caramel and vanilla, to be completely honest, in this one. I can see, like, the synapses firing.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
No.
And those are two horrible descriptors. This is a pleasant, interesting to drink bourbon.
I like the word interesting. I think that's a good word.
It's interesting to drink bourbon. It is more, there is complexity. Mm-hmm. I don't know that it's coating my tongue in the sense of...
No, it's not a buttery, syrupy mouthfeel.
But this is 100 proof, all right? Mm-hmm. So when you think about other 100 proof bourbons, I think it holds its own. Where it doesn't hold its own is its price point.
I agree with you.
I'm glad we bought it. And the first time we tasted it, I remember that comment of, we had never seen it around here. Mm-hmm. We wanted to try it. We knew that but we wanted to try it, and I think it's... Some people said that the bottle's not good.
I think the bottle's beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, the bottle's gorgeous. It looks nice. It looks fancy. No, I think there's a lot of good things about this.
And you know, you're getting... This was a combination of John Ray, who was Kentucky Owl's outgoing master blender, mm-hmm. and your incoming Maureen Robinson, as we said before, who is a master Scotch person. Mm-hmm. Makes me think that they were going for, because they're mentioning that grapefruit and they're mentioning that orange and that zest. Mm-hmm. So that makes me think they were trying to impart somewhere in there a Scotch profile.
And that could have been, like you said, Maureen's influence.
Yeah. This grabbed our attention because it lit up. Believe it or not, on our news feeds now, we get lots of bourbon stories.
Yeah, shocker.
And
the algorithms are algorithming.
Yeah, the algorithm's right to us. Mm-hmm. And then one of the podcasts that we like to listen to, that's what they were talking about. And they're bourbon heavy. I mean, they're mm-hmm. in the business. That's what they do.
When you earlier were talking about the first iterations of that being for a niche within a niche within a niche, that's them.
Yeah, they were talking about drinking rye number 2 and it being one of the best bourbon, one of the best ryes they'd ever had.
Right.
And they were willing to pay that. But interesting that in listening to them, those niches don't appreciate as much when they get in that mode of talking. They really don't want to talk about Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel. And they don't want to talk about what us commoners drink. And we were talking to, I think we're talking to Steve via email about how we're looking for Elijah Craig 18. So it's not like we don't want to step out and get that $108 bottle of Elijah Craig. We do. But this show we try to focus on what you can walk in an ABC store and buy, or comparing what you can walk in an ABC store and buy to what we're searching for. Because we are tortured. I know what we should taste it next to. Bum, bum, bum. So, to catch everyone up in our viewing audience, I had an idea. We were talking about Kentucky Owl, and this is about 100 proof bourbon, and they were looking for a new niche. And there just happens to be, in the state of Kentucky, a group that was doing the same thing called New Riff.
Now, how much is this bottle?
This is closer to, and we didn't prepare this for the show. This is straight off the bat. So what we have here is a $42 New Riff. Now, New Riff has done amazing things. They've got they do distill. This is their juice, but this is bottled and bond. It's a high rye. It's under $50. So we're talking about people trying to bust into that same group, but at a different price point. However, and interesting enough, it tells you right that distilled spring of 2020, and their concept is a new riff on an old tradition. I mean, that was kind of in it, and obviously that sounds like a guitar riff. And it's an exploding brand.
It is
in a time where bourbon is trying to find its ground again after COVID. So after everyone was drinking, and this is a 65% corn, 30% rye, and 5% malted barley. So they're telling you what's on the bottle. Now, it's bottled and bond, so it's not I get all that, but let's give it a shot.
So this one, right off the bat, the rye is not at the front with this one. The rye is towards the back. You have the sweeter up front. God, that's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. This is lighter in color. That rye hits you up front.
I'm not saying that they taste like one another. I'm saying that this is less than a $50 bottle, and this is a $150 bottle.
We can get this now fairly easily.
And several other iterations. They're putting the mash bill on the bottle, which we are huge fans of.
Yes, that and age statements on your bottle.
That's right. And if I'm gonna pay $150 for a bottle, I want a little more knowledge. I want to at least be massaged, and putting an age statement massages me.
Well, I want an age statement. I want a mash bill, because what if it's just not my personal taste? That doesn't mean it's not worth it, but it might not be worth it for me because I know it's not my personal taste. I think it's interesting too. You're talking about this being an exploding brand, connecting back to Kentucky Owl. Actually, so Dixon Dedman left Kentucky Owl, obviously when Stoli bought, and he has started another brand that is absolutely exploding in 2XO. Yeah. Which is suddenly everywhere. And so I think it's interesting that he really shifted from this very stately old school to kind of this vibe. Because, I mean, like 2XO has the sneakerhead edition, and they have the American oak versus the French oak. It's very cool.
Yeah, so he's still...
Just like New Riff.
Yeah, he's innovating. And he's allowing himself to do some things to attract a different type of bourbon drinker.
Evolving.
Whereas before, what he was hitting was this group.
Yeah. But he hit that group well.
But it was when Stoli decided, not only we're going to upscale this, but we're going to build Disney World. And
we're going to try to have a bottle that's around this price, but we're going to kind of cheap our way through it.
Yeah.
And people, I mean, if you have marketed yourself as a high-end niche product to people who know their stuff about bourbon, you can't do that. They'll lose all trust. So I'm interested to see where they go. I'm glad you pulled out the New Riff, because I do think that is an interesting comparison. I like it a lot.
Yeah, and we're going to be, the 8 people who are watching are going to
do a New Riff.
Are going to slaughter us with, well, that's not the same. Well, we know it's not the same thing. In terms of, look at what they did. Look at where they built from. Interesting story. Look at what they did. They didn't try to build on they didn't try to build on someone's legacy from a century ago.
Right.
That really has no connection because I get it. It's cool that it was his great-great-granddad.
It is. But he's not even with the company anymore.
He's not with the company, and it's not like they were using a mash bill from that time.
Right. Exactly.
We were buying other people's
juice,
and that's fine. That's
they
bourbon. That's
apparently
bourbon.
early on they blended it well, and some really unique and delicious combinations.
It's not bad. In fact, if you want me to rate this is better than That Dog Will Hunt.
I would say for the complexity, for the kind of flip of the switch of the spice being more up front and then it mellowing. Yeah.
If we're going just on taste, to me it's closer to Hush Your Mouth. But when you put that price point in, well, it can't even be A Dog Will Hunt. You can't pay $150 for this. It has to. If you're paying that much for it, and frankly for the working class, if you're paying $150 a bottle,
for the middle
it's
class.
got to it's got to be cock of the walk.
It needs to be. I have searched for this.
Yeah.
I am pumped to have this.
And I get that there's people who can pay thousands of dollars for a bottle or hundreds upon hundreds of dollars for a bottle.
That's not us.
But I will say that when we tried Russell's 15, we paid for it by the glass.
And it was an occasion for us.
We agreed it was fantastic. We also agreed that we drank Russell's 10 right next to it. And what did we say? For the price
And availability.
we're going to drink Russell's 10.
Yeah.
But did
If
we
you want
agree?
to send us a bottle of Russell's 15,
But did we
we'll take
agree
it.
that Russell's 15 was cock of the walk? Yes.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
Yeah.
But in our rating system, it's about how can you as a
Yeah.
consumer enjoy bourbon.
Yeah. You have to balance all of the factors.
So it's even hard to rank that. Whereas this, we'll rate that on another day, but it's daggone good.
It is daggone good. So I think to sum it up, we recognize the quality, but at the same time, with the price and kind of what has happened with the company, overall ranking is going to land probably into That Dog Will Hunt. So you've got this, and we have this cautionary tale, and then you have, like when we talked about in our Wild Turkey episode, most people don't even know Wild Turkey's owned by Campari. And they still let the Russells do their thing.
Yeah, they let their name be on it.
They let them innovate. They let it do it exactly how they've always done it. They don't force them to produce products that they don't believe in. Let bourbon.
Well, interesting enough, we talk a lot about Colonel E.H. Taylor.
Mm-hmm. We do.
And he built the castle.
He did build the
And
castle.
he built the castle to be a bourbon...
A tourist attraction.
With gardens back in the day. Now, he is now regarded as a visionary. He was a failed businessman.
He was, absolutely. It didn't work. But the bourbon was darn good.
The bourbon was darn good. So let's see what happens in the future. Maybe it's not dead. With the right marketing, it could come back in 5 years. It could come back next year with the right marketing.
Well, it's got to have the quality to back it up.
You just got to go out and hire a 72-year-old NFL football coach.
That's exactly what you got to do. With his 24-year-old girlfriend.
With his 24-year-old girlfriend.
Perfect.
I do.
On that note,
cheers
y'all.
Maighstir.
Affleck.
And if you're... And being your...
Okay.
We can't afford heat.
Because we buy too much bourbon.
Well, Scotsman can only talk to God.
Dear God.
No, it's actually a riff from William Wallace. I can't believe you don't... It was not Scottish as crap.
What is that from?
It's from Saturday Night Live.
But which skit?
It's not Scottish as crap.
It's gotta be,
If it's not Scottish as crap, that's the episode.
What's fun?
You think my parents were watching Saturday Night Live with me?
No, I don't think they were.